Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and I am joined for this hub episode by our good friends Duck and Jess, aka Beanie Duck. And today we are starting a new series. It is something that we've touched on in the past over here at Mom Street, but we are going to be doing a series of one-day park strategies. So we are going to be highlighting all 4 Disney parks and all 3 of the Universal parks and kind of giving you guys an idea of, okay, if you've got one day in this theme park, what is a good course of action for me to take? So this is part 1 of what will inevitably be 7 parts to this series. And we are kicking off this series by starting in Universal, primarily because we've got Duck and Jess with us here today, and they are our Mom Street Universal experts here. So before we jump into all of that, Duck, Jess, how are we doing today?
Excited to continue the Universal talk.
Very excited.
They have infiltrated the Mom Streets world with all of the Universal lingo.
We're going to make Universal fans out of all of yous yet.
You know, I will say, on my last trip down to Florida, I did visit Epic Universe, which is to come. So I'm excited to give some input and like actually have some knowledge when it comes to because we will be covering Epic Universe in this series, which will be exciting and something brand new to probably the majority of our listeners. So that will be exciting. But you know, Universal, I'm not completely sold on the OG 2 parks yet, but like I'm sold on Epic. So we're good. We're good there. So when we get there, it'll be good.
We'll take what we can get.
Yep.
We're slowly
One park at a
infiltrating.
time.
That's it.
One park at a time. I love this. Well, let's go ahead and hop in because we've got a ton of notes. Just some kind of general notes about the series that we're jumping into. For each park that we're going to be talking about, we're going to give you kind of 2 courses of action. One being if you're just walking up to the park, planning to do standby for everything, not planning to use any sort of passes, things like that. And then the another kind of course of action would be if you are planning to use at Universal, it's called the Express Pass. At Disney, it would be Lightning Lanes, multi-pass, single pass, those types of things. So you're going to kind of hear some repeat of information just because we are going to go over kind of 2 sides to that one-day plan. Basically, you're going to just have to know going into it whether or not you're planning to use any of those or whether your budget allows for you to use any of those types of assistance to shorten the waits for you and your travel party. So you will hear us talk about that. In every episode, we're going to go over that just because we know that we have a lot of people that are hardcore one way or the other, right? We have a lot of people that, nope, their budget doesn't allow it. They don't want to use that. They're just going to go with the standby and go with the flow. And then we have another group that definitely budgets for those express passes and those lightning lanes. So want to give each side of that some notes about what to do with their day. So just like I said, general notes, and you'll hear that in all 7. And I'll probably repeat myself about this in all 7 episodes of this series, but that's what we're dealing with. So yes, today we are starting at Universal Studios Florida. And now this is the part of the podcast where I'm going to close my mouth because I do not have enough of the knowledge about this. And I'm going to let Duck and Jess take it away. So let's talk about Universal Studios Florida.
All right, let's get to yapping. My favorite. Let's go. So, like Jackie said, today we're covering Universal Studios Florida, which to anybody who's maybe new and jumping into just the Universal world, this is not referring in general to the resort. When we say Universal Studios Florida, there are technically 3 parks under the Universal umbrella, right? So we have Epic Universe, which is the brandy new one that everyone's losing their minds over, us included. And then there are the 2, we'll call them the traditional Universal parks. There's Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida. And that Universal Studios Florida is what we're talking about today. We are not suggesting a one-day strategy for all 3 parks.
No.
It's probably in some way doable, but no thank you. No thank you. We are theme park enjoyers, not theme park challengers. I'm going to leave that to the YouTubers. That is not our vibe. So when we are talking about Universal Studios Florida, we are today specifically talking about that theme park.
Yep. And if you are completely new to the Universal world, so to speak, we did kind of a whole in depth series about Universal not too long ago. So hop back into our archives if you're like, I don't know anything about. You may want to go listen, to, like, pause us right now, and you may want to go listen to that first because that will give you some of the background knowledge. Because we're not really going to get into what rides are what and what food options there are and all that kind of stuff because we've covered that already. So, if you are someone that needs that, hop back to the series on Universal that we did just a few weeks ago and then come back over here.
And then welcome back.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Okay. So, what are some general, like, first thing in the morning thoughts that we need to have about Universal Studios?
So, something important to know is that currently Universal Studios Florida does not offer early admission for resort guests. Once upon a time, they did. Post COVID, they haven't. And it doesn't seem like it's coming back anytime soon. And this is purely because of the number of high volume attractions that are found within this particular park, right? There's a lot of people eater rides here. So while there are a few heavy hitters in here, there's the two coasters that we'll get into that are really like the big, quote unquote, the big attractions. A lot of stuff, while the waits can get high because of the sheer volume of people, there is less need for them to do this early entry to sort of satisfy the need of, oh, we have these huge rides and there's only so much capacity that we can have on them. So it is the older park. It was the original Universal Studios park that opened up, so a lot of the rides reflect that like people eater mentality that we saw in the late 90s, early 2000s of sort of like theme park development. Um, the general rule of thumb, even though there is no early entry, uh, try to get there about 40 minutes early. So whatever your earliest time is, right? This is evergreen advice. If in the future they decide, you know what, everybody just loves the mummy ride so much, we better start opening an hour early. The general advice that we're going to give throughout this series is that you want to get there at least 40 minutes before your earliest entry time. That will give you time because even though the it's not open, there are times where they may let you in up to a certain point, much like Disney, right? You can physically walk into the park up to a certain point, and then they will drop the rope, so to speak. They will drop the dividing line and allow you in. Universal Studios Florida is much less likely to do that than the other park that's here, Islands of Adventure. But it does happen, especially during the summer season. They want to let people start filtering in, and get to the areas that maybe they need to get to avoid sort of a crowd crush situation first thing in the morning because their entrance gates are pretty narrow.
Yeah, much more narrow than most of the Disney gates.
Yes. Yeah, and again, this is just a feature of how they built it, where they built it, when they built it, right? I think that when they built this, they anticipated it being popular, but I don't know that they foresaw even the success of the park. I think they may have designed some features of the park a little bit differently, if they kind of knew the capacity that would really happen in the future. Um, with that 40-minute rule that I was just mentioning, that is during like general time. If you're going super popular time, like summer weekends or like around Christmas, you're going to want to push that to and getting there an hour before your earliest time. Maybe it's overkill. Maybe you're going to end up with the one day where no one's there in the morning, but we like to err on the side of caution, especially if you only have one day. So you're really going to set yourself up for success if you give yourself that extra buffer time to show up and start lining up to get where you're going.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things to remember and consider with that is that the parking is a very different situation at Universal. Now, some of you, if you're staying on Universal property, you won't have to worry about dealing with the parking situation that is over there. But if you are someone who has a car or is renting a car and is planning to drive, that is something to consider, just much like it is at many of the Disney parks too, right? If you're going to Magic Kingdom, there's a whole parking thing you gotta navigate and figure out, but you have to remember that. So, what should we remember and consider when we're navigating the parking and having to go through City Walk when it comes to that?
So, what you're mentioning, City Walk, we talked about in our previous episode, right? That is sort of the nightlife district, is what it's generally thought of as. that's connected to Universal. It is not physically within the theme parks, but it is still Universal property. So the way that it works is if you're coming from off property, right? Let's say you're staying at Disney, you're driving over for a day, or even if you're just a local driving on. So you'll drive up. There is a massive parking garage. It is the biggest parking garage I think I've ever seen in my life. It's crazy. So there's a parking garage. There is the option for like additional VIP parking, and there are always those options. Which I don't know if we mentioned in our previous episodes, but I don't think so. I think we
I don't
talked about
think
it
we
more
did
from
either, but
a
you
regional
know,
perspective.
Yeah.
But it feels like it was 100 years ago, even though it was
I
like
know.
2 months ago we talked about this.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so there is the option for like, like VIP parking and things like that. But either way, no matter what, you're going to end up in this garage. You walk through the garage to the entryway to City Walk. At City Walk is actually where the security screening is. So if you are a Disney person, the thing that we can compare it to is as you're going towards Magic Kingdom by like the TTC, where that is like a screening area as well. That's probably the closest analogy that we have. So before you physically enter Universal property, you are being screened for security. Even if you're not going to the parks, you're just going into City Walk, they screen right there.
Yeah, similar to the parking garage at Disney Springs now that they've
Yes.
implemented that as
Yes.
well. So you literally get out of your car as you walk out of it's a little further removed at Universal than it is like Disney Springs. It's like in the parking garage. At City Walk, it's a little further out where you have some walking to do before you actually get to that. But it is very similar to what you find at Disney Springs.
Or you can ride Universal's version of the People Mover, which is the moving walkway, like they have in some airports.
The moving airport walkways.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
yep.
Exactly. We call it Universal's People Mover. So yeah, but yes, you're right. There is much more distance in between, right? So you walk into the garage, you go through your screening, you walk down that walkway, and then that dumps you into City Walk. And then you can either go right to go to Universal Studios Florida, or you can go left to go to Islands of Adventure. So generally with City Walk, if you only have one day at Universal or like one day for each park, we love City Walk, but it is not the highlight attraction there, right? Like if you are there for the theme parks, do not stress if you can't do anything in City Walk.
Yeah.
If
Most things there can be done at home.
Yes, yeah,
Like escape rooms, movie theaters,
mini golf.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm sure you have all of that in your hometown.
don't stress. You're not missing like Velocicoaster in there or anything like that, right? Like there is no I absolutely am gonna waste this trip if I don't see it.
Mhm.
It's fun, but it is their entertainment district, right? So it's not a total crisis if on your limited time with your trip you can't hang out in there. Except for Voodoo Donuts, you have to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You must get Voodoo. It is worth the walk from like on the way back to City Walk at the end of the night. Get yourself some Voodoo Donuts.
You have to pass by it anyway. It's
That's
not
right.
not out of your way.
That's right.
Perfect.
Right.
All right. So once we have arrived at the park,
Yes.
we're doing express first, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
we're going to talk as if you are using an express pass. So Universal has two different versions of their express passes. One is just the standard express pass. It's like a single use per ride pass. Think of it like the lightning lanes at Disney. You use it once and you're done.
The difference, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but the difference important to know between here and Disney. Disney, you like book your time, and you have
That's
to do that. You don't have to do that. You just physically walk up. They will scan your pass, and then it's considered spent for that ride if you get the single use. You do not have to schedule in advance. You can just hop in that line
Whenever.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then there is also the Unlimited Express, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is unlimited, right? So you can walk up to that ride and use the Express Pass on it as many times as you want to.
And I'm laughing only because we've ridden the Mummy like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, it's the best ride.
Because we had the Express, and there was nothing, like, I forget what it was. Bunch of stuff was down, and we were there, and we were like, you know what? Let's go on again. Whatever.
I see no problem with this. Getting the most out of your money.
That's
Exactly.
Oh, and boy, howdy do we.
And the thing to know is that Universal Express passes can be very, very expensive. Sometimes even more than the cost of your ticket into the park. So the single use one is usually a little bit cheaper. And then the unlimited one is obviously the most expensive option, and that is the one that can get like insanely pricey. So we're kind of planning this out as if you have just the single use um standard pass. But something to note too is if you're staying in some of the more like higher end hotels on Universal property, the unlimited express pass is included with that. So that is a nice perk. So if you are staying on property, you can get that included, with your stay. But otherwise, it is something to kind of price out and see if it makes sense for your family and for your trip. So we're just kind of talking about this as if you're just using, the standard express pass. So the general kind of principle that we follow is to start with your biggest ride and then kind of going around in a counterclockwise motion. So this kind of makes sure that you save your single express rides for maybe the second time around. On that most anticipated ride, and it allows you to kind of get through the park efficiently, get on all the rides you want, and then kind of avoid the traffic because everybody kind of like with Disney, you tend to go off to the right. So kind of going in that counterclockwise motion kind of helps with it.
Yeah, the flow in Universal, if you want to pull up a map, no. But the way that a lot of traffic goes in Universal Studios and USF is that you walk right into the Minion section. So people will kind of stop at the Minion section and then will continue on in a clockwise motion around. Like then they'll head back to the Harry Potter section and then so on and so forth. Or they will go right to the Harry Potter section and then they're like, well, we're at the back of the park, so let's continue around. And they will generally continue to go clockwise. If you go counterclockwise, you are then generally going against the flow of the busiest traffic. And in our itinerary, we're going to talk about it too, but that lets you knock out the two most popular rides in the park fairly easily. So that is our hot take of the day is to start in the back and then go counterclockwise.
I mean, I always live by the rule that left is always right.
That's it.
So, like,
Exactly right.
and that you will find that in a lot of theme parks, not
True.
just, Universal, Disney, they're all set up a little bit differently, but generally speaking, your tendency is going to want to be to go right-ish. Most of the time, the better option is to go left. So,
Mm-hmm. Firm agreement.
yes.
Yeah.
And I should mention before we get too much further in this that the itineraries that we're giving are going to give you the majority of the rides or almost all of the rides, if not all of the rides at these parks as we kind of go through this whole series. That being said, if you get to part of this itinerary and you're like, no one in my group wants to ride that, cool, great, skip it and move on, right? Like just, take a look at the order that we're and we'll get some graphics and have some nice little screenshotable little itineraries for you after we kind of get through the series with this. But the whole thing is like you can take this and then cater it to your group. So if
Yeah.
there's a ride on here that we talk about that you're like, nope, don't want to do that, cool, skip it, move on.
Yeah, 100%. And I make throughout this, we make some notes as to possible substitutions,
Right.
but also something to know as we're going through this, it's much easier to give firm times or estimated times with the Express Pass. We've done both with Express and without Express. All of these Universal parks, except for Epic. So like so Universal USF and IOA, we've done extensively both with and without Express passes. It is much easier for us to give you a rough estimated time for with Express Pass, right? Because we know generally the queue takes us a half hour to go through, takes us 5 minutes to get loaded up, so you are in and out of this ride in 40 minutes, right? It is much, much harder. I'm going to say impossible for us to give you exact timings when it comes to doing things without an express pass. So when we were researching this, we're not able to give you exact times. We're giving you very rough times. So you may find you get through a lot of this stuff quicker if you go at a less busy time of year, or even think factors like the weather could help you, right?
Yeah.
If it's raining in the morning and people aren't really showing up, a lot of the big attractions at USF are indoors.
Yeah.
So they're not closing just because it's inclement weather. So you might be able to knock out 5 rides in 2 hours, right? So it's very dependent on a number of factors. So we give you a sample itinerary, we give you advice as to what to follow, but do just understand that as you're going through your day, especially without Express, it's really important for you to plan ahead, right? Get your big rides, in your thoughts, and also keep checking the app, right? Because that app is going to be your best friend in terms of wait times, in terms of where everything's located, fastest route, things like that.
Absolutely. Okay, so are we ready to hop into our first little section of our itinerary here?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
rock.
Perfect. So, what are we doing first?
All right. So again, this is the With Express itinerary. So studios opens right at 9 o'clock. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get there between 8 and 8:40. Again, depending on how busy it is there. We said earlier they're gonna start maybe possibly scanning folks in. Kind of depends on the season, the time, how many staff they have, etc. But either way, you're gonna want to get there fairly early. You have your 9 a.m. entrance. You're going to go right to Gringotts. You're going to book it straight to the back of the park. You can't miss it. It's a giant brick wall that you can enter. The night bus is outside. You're just going to haul it and you're going to go right to Gringotts. If this is of any interest to you at all, go right to Gringotts because this wait by midday, no matter how busy or not busy the park is, gets long. It just does. If you are not a coaster person, we then recommend going right to whatever your number one attraction is. That way you can get at least one ride in before you have to use that express pass, right? So you get your one freebie ride, we can call it. If you have kids, we do suggest that, if this is of interest to your kiddos, that Minion Mayhem ride, that also gets a very long line by midday. It's upwards of 90 minutes by midday. So you're going to want to beeline it right there, and make that your number one priority. Because again, I don't think anybody wants to wait 90 minutes at 2 p.m. with a cranky child.
Nope.
Nope. Now, are you saying that even at 9 a.m. the express pass should be used for Gringotts, or is this a standby that you're doing first before you start your express pass?
Standby.
That one. So a standby. So we will tell you when you're starting to use the express passes.
Perfect.
These first few rides, essentially, if the wait is a half hour or less, first thing in the morning, you are going to want to just do that standby. It is generally not a half hour first thing in the morning. They may post that time. Just because they got to start somewhere, right? They got to give a rough estimate. They got to do what they got to do in terms of their own logistics as a park. But generally speaking, we have seen half hours posted for Gringotts, and then it ends up being 20 minutes, right? So it is always whatever your number one priority is to make sure that you get on that first ride as soon as possible. You are going to want to go right there and get right in the standby line. And then later, if you enjoyed it as much as we think you probably will, because if it's your most anticipated ride, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a good time, right? So then that will later in the day let you use that express pass when the line is longer.
Perfect. Yeah. And you'll find this is the case at almost every theme park that we're going to talk about. Generally speaking, the first hour-ish, maybe 2 hours at some parks are really just a great time to rack through standby queues and get those in. So that way, like Duck mentioned, if you want to go back to these rides again, you still have the ability to do that using that express pass.
Yeah, agreed. And like we said, you may get in and out of these rides in 20 minutes. We have budgeted for some of these about 40 minutes. So if you can find that you get out of Gringotts and it's still at that 20-minute mark, ride again. You know what I mean? Like this is a great time again for you to check the app, for you to keep an eye on the wait times. And if it's low enough, just get right back in line and go ahead and knock it out one more time because then usually by, like you said, about an hour in, we see those wait times start to climb as people are filtering in. They're ready to go. A lot of people don't want a rope drop, but they'll go for opening an early morning. So this is a good time for you to knock out your number one ride and then maybe do it a second time,
Yep.
even before you need to burn that express pass.
Perfect. Okay, so we have ridden Gringotts. We are exiting the queue. We decide that we're going to go do something different next.
Right.
Where are we headed after that?
So you are going to expeditiously head to the right. You're going to just exit Harry Potter and hook a right, and you're going to go for the Mummy. That is, Gringotts and the Mummy are the two biggest attractions within USF. They are the coasters in there. And while there are other great rides, these, because they are coasters, they just inherently have lower capacity than some of the other rides in here, right? So like we're going to talk about like something like Men in Black in a little bit. That ride moves like 18 trillion people in an hour. Like it's unbelievable how fast they move people through. It like breaks quantum physics how quickly you can go through that. So coasters have, just by nature of what they are and the spaces in which these coasters are built, are lower capacity. So there is going to just be inherently a higher line time for them. So by knocking these out first thing, you are setting yourself up for a really great day, because nothing feels better than just like dashing into a theme park and knocking out your most anticipated rides. Like you're like immediately, I'm good. No matter what else happens the rest of the day, I am riding the high of the fact that I knocked out my most anticipated ride.
Right.
But more than that, you really feel like you're getting your experience's worth when you can knock out these larger attractions, and then later you can go back and ride them again with Express, and you can just basically walk right on with a minimal wait.
Perfect. Love this.
So you get in line for the Mummy, right? Roughly, we're thinking 9 o'clock-ish, you got in line for Gringotts. Say 9:40 you get out, right? We'll give you some time for loading, things like that. Then you're going to be able to walk over to the Mummy. About 10 a.m. you're going to get in line for the Mummy. Between 10 and 11, the wait time usually hovers between a half hour and 45 minutes. Anything more than that, if you want to use the Express, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to wait a little bit later in the day to see where the plan is taking you, you can do that too. Because don't forget, you can use that Express at any time of day. There's no reservations to make. There's no planning that you need to do other than walking up and scanning your ticket. That's all. So depending on what you're feeling, we suggest if it's 45 minutes or less, just go ahead and hop in the queue. It usually moves pretty quickly. I know I just said it's like a lower capacity ride, but they are very efficient with their loading and unloading, so you move through pretty quickly. So we're going to say, let's say it takes you about an hour, right, to get in through the Mummy. That brings you at 11 o'clock. If you're feeling a little hungry, right across from the exit of the Mummy is an Annie Ann's pretzel place. We recommend stopping there because also right next to that and around 11 o'clock is the Blues Brothers show. So like you've just knocked out the two biggest rides in this park. You need like a little bit of a victory snack and like some vibes. A little treat, a little snack, right? Everyone loves a little pretzel nugget. So that is 100% a great option because it's all right there. It's literally you exit the Mummy and you look at the building physically across from you, and it's the Annie Ann's. And it's a little deceptive because it does look like just like a New York corner store, and then you read the banner and it says Annie Ann's, and you're like, well, now wait a second. I know that.
And that's perfect because those are two of your top thrill rides, right? So like if you're someone that's like, I'm gonna wait to eat until I've done those.
Right.
Perfect timing.
That's me. And that's why I'm so hungry by 11 o'clock and I'm looking for those pretzels. Because I'm a human who I can't eat and then go on a ride. I commend everybody who can. I need to wait. It's like swimming. Like I need to wait like a half hour before I get on the ride. So I'm not eating a big breakfast or anything like that, right? Like I might have a pastry, might have a couple sips of coffee, and then I'm off on the rides. Believe me, that's enough to wake me up. But I can't eat a lot before we get on rides, so that's a really great point. And by that time, I'm usually starving, so that's like a good break time. I can have my little pretzel snacks, we can watch the Blues Brothers show, and we can just sort of relax after sprinting into the theme park.
Perfect. All right, so we grabbed a snack, we caught some vibes. Where are we headed next?
So you're now going to be entering the illumination area, right? If we're continuing our counterclockwise motion, you're going to go back into that Minions area that you just sort of sprinted through before. So this is 11:30, and especially if it's a busy time of year, now is when you're going to start wanting to use the Express Pass. Keep an eye on wait times, of course. Like we said, the general rule of thumb is half hour or less. Don't even bother with the Express Pass. You can save it for later. If either of the Minions rides are of interest to you, I would knock those out now. Like I said, just use the Express and pop right on, because around now is when the wait times start to go up, because now you really have everybody in there, right? Maybe some some of the not so morning people are rolling in, some parents who maybe their kiddos just did not want to get in the park that early, right? Maybe they slept in a little bit, they're planning on staying late. This is now when the height of the day really starts. So this is roughly when you're going to want to start using express passes. If anything's a half hour or more. So, if you are not interested in doing the Minions rides, you could grab lunch now at 11:30 instead of maybe having the snack at 11. You could alternatively grab lunch. Um, if not, if Minions is of interest to you, we definitely recommend grabbing a snack and then waiting until about 1:15 for lunch, because basically between like 11:45 and 1 is when everybody else also thinks it's a good idea to have lunch. How dare they?
True.
How dare we all have the
It's
same
so
clock?
true. Oh, that's true everywhere. Everybody all decides to eat at the same time.
Yeah, first off, that's offensive that everybody also gets hungry at the same time that I get hungry. But truly, and Universal does a good job. They have the mobile ordering and it's like basically available everywhere and it's pretty efficient. But like the truth of the matter is it's just a busy time. You may not find seating, so if you can eat early or eat late, and I feel like this is going to be the general principle across the board for all of these.
Yep.
Try to eat outside of peak time. If you can avoid it, please do. Even if you have to grab a snack, excuse me, even if you have to grab a snack to kind of like hold yourself over or your kiddos over, it's worth it to have that stress-free dining experience by waiting that little bit.
Now, also just the caveat to that, don't wait too long either. Like,
Don't get hangry.
don't get hangry. Don't make your kiddos hangry.
That felt
That's-
targeted.
It was not, I promise.
It's all right.
But
I
the
just
snacks,
done it.
the snacks are crucial. So if
Yeah.
you know that you're going to wait until 1:30 or 2 to eat lunch, you have got to make sure that you plan at least 2 snack breaks in your morning block
Yep.
before lunch,
100%.
Yeah.
because you're going to
Break,
be
Cheez-Its or something in your
Mhm.
backpack for the kiddos.
Yep.
Just make
Or
sure
yourself.
people eat.
Yeah, because you're walking more, you're more active there, you need more sustenance to keep you
It's
happy.
1,000 degrees.
Yep.
Yep.
Just at least 2 snack breaks if you're going to do a late lunch, and I'd still contemplate a snack break even if you're doing an early lunch too, depending on your preferences with your group.
Yep.
Yep.
Firm agree. You know yourself and your kiddos best. It's always good to have, like Jess said, like a backup Cheez-It or something, right? Like
A singular Cheez-It
That's
in your
it.
bag.
But it's gonna be one of those really large ones, like Taco Bell
as
sold.
big as your face.
That's it. Like the tostadas that Taco Bell sold that were just giant Cheez-Its. It's those.
Yep.
Just one.
Just one.
One per person in your group.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so you have
Right.
planned your lunch and figured out
Lunch,
timing
yes.
with that. So now we're going to give you still times with the afternoon, but they may or may not be off a little if you take a later lunch, earlier lunch.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind. Figure that out. Do some math in your brain. You can do it. I promise you can.
Yeah.
But where are we headed after lunch?
So after lunch, around like 1:30, 1:45-ish is a good time to find a spot for the 2 p.m. parade. So this starts,
But Jess, what time does the 2 p.m. parade start?
I don't know, I think it's 4.
Oh, I knew it. I knew the title
tricking
was
us.
just 2 p.m. parade.
So this starts in Hollywood next to Cafe La Bamba, and then it goes down through Illumination and then around the New York area, and then it kind of comes back the way that it came. So the parade route is also available on a map on Universal's website. So if you want to kind of see where it stops and kind of figure out where you guys want to be on that route. So the parade takes about 20 minutes to go by. So it kind of depends on where in the route you are. Obviously if you're towards the end of the route, it'll take longer for that parade to get to you.
I am shocked by this
How
thought.
time works.
This also buys you a little bit of extra time if you're doing the late lunch.
Yes.
So what happens a lot with this parade is that people will be where it starts and then clear out once it's passed, not realizing it makes that loop back. So that is a good place to sort of, if you're running a little bit late, maybe you were just finishing up lunch, that where the parade starts is also where it ends. So
Mhm.
that is a good place to, if you think the
Yeah,
parade's
loop
about
back
halfway
up
through,
there.
exactly, just sort of like loop right back and, you can usually get some good spots to view.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it literally makes a circle.
Yeah,
Mm.
you know what? Most people don't, because it's very different than how Disney does things, right? Disney, it's just like it's down Main Street. It's also true for Universal that it's down their two main streets. I guess three main streets, but it
Right.
makes just a circle around the block basically.
Right.
Because of how Universal is set up, they have to store their floats and such only in that one area, and there's no real room for them to sort of bring it through the backstage area. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And Victoria's saying in our chat something that's important to think about with the parade too. She said she once got stuck in the loop once and couldn't get out to get to like ET or something like that.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind where you're watching the parade too. So that way, as it loops back around, you don't get caught on the wrong side of the parade route, depending on where you're going next, which is where are we going next, Jess?
Speaking of ET,
Hey.
So speaking of ET, so after the parade around 2:45, you can start making your way back towards ET. This ride does get a pretty long wait if it is peak season, so you might want to use your express pass. But if it is a short wait, like 20 minutes or so, save the express pass for later when it might get a little bit busier.
so this is another people eater ride. It goes through people like you would not believe. Everyone is seeing that freaky little alien while they're riding their bikes, faster than you'd believe. However, it is one of the most family-friendly rides. So, A, when it's a billion degrees out, it's an air-conditioned queue. Everybody wants to go there. B, when it's peak season and there's a lot of families there, everybody's going to want to go there because it is one of the most family-friendly attractions in the park. So, it will move fast, but there is a high volume of people that are there. So we've seen waits for ET be like 4 minutes, and then we've seen them be 90 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's very dependent on what else is going on in the park, what if anything else is down, if it's very hot or raining, if there's a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. If it's like 20 minutes or less, just get right in line. And like Jess said, otherwise go ahead and use that express pass and move on.
Yeah. So there are a couple more kind of kiddo-friendly attractions here. There is the playground that they can, play around on if you're looking for just time for them to kind of run around and get some energy out. And then there is also the roller coaster if you have any kiddos that are interested in that. So those might be some good things to hit up while you're over here as well. And then there is also the Born Stuntacular show that is in this area. So if that is interesting to you, then you can, kind of set aside some time around now to, go and watch that show as well.
If that's of interest to you at all, I recommend it. If you are a Disney person and you like the Indiana Jones stunt show, you will love the Born Stuntacular show. It is very good. It is widely regarded as one of the best stunt shows at a theme park in the US, period. So it's a really good show.
Yeah.
So if you have teenagers that are maybe like not super into some of the other like the DreamWorks stuff over there, the Born Stuntacular it's a great show.
All right. So this kind of all puts you around like 4 o'clock ish that you'll be arriving to the Simpsons area. So there are a few rides in this area. There is a motion simulator ride. Um,
Not for me.
And then Mapfre and Tilt-A-Whirl ride. So if you are motion sensitive, much like Duck over here, this might be a good time to have another, snack stop or drink stop. You can go into Moe's Tavern, and have yourself a little meal and a Duff beer if you are of age. Um,
You can also have a flaming Mo if you are of age or you
Yes.
know what that is.
so might be a good time for that if the rides in the Simpsons area are not something that floats your boat.
Pack it up. Pack it up. I'm good.
And there are also, if you have kiddos and you're in this area and you're not wanting to do the rides, there are like little carnival games and stuff that you can do too. So that is something else to kind of eat up the time and keep the kids entertained. If like The Simpsons just really isn't necessarily their vibe.
Wrong.
Everyone loves a
It's
turtle.
everybody's vibe.
It should be everyone's vibe, but
Bye, Dr. Nick.
um, you can also just like go into Moe's Tavern and have dinner too. You can get like a full meal in there. If you want, you could also buy like those big donuts and like all of that. So the Simpsons area has a lot to offer, even if you're not doing the rides. So this all puts us to the Men in Black ride around 5 o'clock. So you can go on that ride. It's usually never more than like a 10-minute wait. Because like Duck said, it really just eats through people. Like
It's
it's insane.
crazy.
Quickly it moves through. And like it is like a stop and you have to load people like thing. So I don't like it defies
It's
physics
it's
because
I'm
it
telling
shouldn't
you,
be this quick, but it is.
time works differently in the Men in Black ride.
It does. They
It's
use the flashy thing. You forget how time.
it's the deneuralizer. But it truly it's high capacity. There's many. It's basically like 3 groups of 9 on 2 different sides. So it's a lot of people very quickly
Yeah.
that are moving through. So, or 3 groups of 6. Sorry, I can't count.
Yep.
But is it 6? It doesn't really matter. It's a lot of people,
It's a lot of people.
moving really fast,
Yep.
and I can't count. We've established this.
It's all right. We don't have to count. So yeah, I mean, this ride typically is not a very long wait, but if you want to, you can use your express pass. If you want to save it and do another lap around and come back to it, you absolutely can do that too. But honestly, it's usually never a very long wait.
If you want to feel like you've used your express pass, you can use the
Use it.
express pass, but there's like no need to do it for Men in Black in particular.
Maybe it cuts down your walking distance a little bit. You know.
That's literally it.
That would be the perk. So this all kind of puts us around 5:30-ish, and we are kind of back near the Hogwarts area. Somebody did comment in the chat before about it's not really labeled. It is not really labeled where the Hogwarts area is, but there is the night bus right outside, and there is the King's Cross station that is like right by it. So it's kind of the entrance is hidden away because it is Diagon Alley, so it is hidden away. But it's kind of right in that area, and then you can kind of just go back.
It looks distinctly British.
It does look distinctly British. Yeah, you're in New York, and then all of a sudden you're in London. So that is like your hint that it's nearby. So you can go back to the Hogwarts area or the Harry Potter area, ride Gringotts again using your express pass this time because the ride or the line I am sure will be very long. And then when you're done there, that puts you about 6:15-ish. Head back over to the Mummy and use your express pass on the Mummy if you didn't have to use it in the morning. And then that puts us
At dinner.
at around dinner time.
Okay, so now that you've made your full loop back, this will put you about in New York or San Francisco. So there's 2 good options there for dinner. I would also say caveat good options with it's still theme park food, right? Like we're not, it's not,
Michelin star dining.
That's right. It's Michelin star dining because I said one time it was good food and I got yelled at in a chat. And I just want to say, like, I want to caveat it. It is good for theme park food, but you are still in the theme park. Like, I want to make that clear.
Let's manage our expectations.
That's right. Yep. Let's be clear. This is theme park food.
Yep.
But yeah, so there is Louis, which is an Italian adjacent restaurant, and then there is Richter Burger in San Francisco. So those are 2 good quick options. And if you need to like sit down, there's Lombard Seafood Grill. We haven't eaten there. We've sat down in there during like our tours for HHN. We have not personally eaten there. But again, like I don't imagine there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I haven't heard anything horrific about it. And I would recommend Finnegan's is also a good place. That's more of like a bar vibe. We've talked about that before. However, it is closing this upcoming year for extensive renovation. So through most of 2026, I believe it will be closed. So if you're listening to this very soon or in the far-flung future, go ahead and go to Finnegan's, but just know that it is for most of 2026. There's a planned renovation for it. It sorely needs it. I love that place, but it needs the update. So sad it'll be closed. Happy that it's getting the update.
Yeah, and just a note about that. Again, if you need more advice on where to eat, we talked about kiddo-friendly options, especially already in our previous episodes. So look back in our archives that are all available anywhere you're listening to us, right? Our archives exist on YouTube, on Chip and Co, on Spotify, on all the places. So head back there. And if you like can't find something, please reach out to us and be like, hey, I'm looking for this. You said it was there. I can't find it. I'm happy to help you. Just send us a message.
I, again, am thrilled to chat about Universal. So any question you have, I'm happy to answer.
Love this. Okay, so we had a wonderful, relaxing meal inside the air conditioning. We're ready for our third wind of the day for our evening plans. Where are we headed?
So this is gonna put you about 7 o'clock. The park can close anytime between 9 o'clock and 1 a.m. It super depends on the time of year. It super depends on the night, if there's anything else going on, if there's a special event, what have you. So just keep an eye on that. Just check the app. If you're not sure, ask a team member. They'll be happy to tell you. So we're going with assuming that this park is closing about 10 o'clock, right? Because that's usually what it is, between 9 and 10 typically. And it's usually only those special times or when it's really busy that it closes as late as 1 a.m. So we'll just go with a rough 10 o'clock. So this is putting us at about 7 o'clock. If you wanted to do the Fast and Furious, well, it's still open, or Transformers, which is also right there, you can do so now. It depends on the wait. And also at this point, like when we get to this point in the night, if we haven't used Express on a ride, we will just use the Express on the ride, right? Because even though it's maybe not like a huge time savings, it is a more direct route usually in the queue. It dumps you in a more convenient place. So overall, like it saves you, I don't know, like 1,000 steps on every ride, right? Like it doesn't seem like that much, but it really does add up when you've been going since,
Say you're just done by then. You are just done. Use the express pass. If it's after dinner, use the express pass.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's worth it. And also like, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm getting more out of it, right? Like maybe I didn't need to
getting your
use the
money's worth.
Express Pass. There's been more than one time where we've looked at each other and we're like, we don't need to use it, but I need to use it. You know what I mean? That's it. Just get the little scan checkpoint, get to say thank you to the team member and move on. But yeah, so now is a good time to do either Fast and the Furious or Transformers. And this is now entering what we call cleanup hours.
I love
So
that term.
This is this is cleanup. This is you've done everything that you wanted to do. You made your full lap. You got some food, you got some treats. This is now when you go back and you do whatever you haven't done, right? Maybe there's a show that you wanted to see. Maybe there's rides. We usually use this time for shopping so we can kind of hang out in the air conditioning after a long day, right? So this is when we're looking for souvenirs for us or for our friends and family. Like that's what we use cleanup time for usually. And again, like if there wasn't anything that you got that you did like you didn't burn your express pass for, you can go and use that now. Even if you don't like need it, you need it. You know what I mean? Um it's also a good time to take in any park atmosphere that you haven't had the chance to do. This, I feel like, is much more applicable advice for when we get to Epic Universe because everything in there is so immersive. But also, like, if you're like us, like, I just love theme parks and I love people watching at theme parks. Like, that is truly at least half the experience for me. So sometimes we'll just, like, if we're done, like, we'll just sit down on a bench and we'll just, like, grab something to drink and people watch, right? Like we'll just grab a little sody pop, a little snack, and watch, and it's so fun, right? So that's our big evening activity.
I love.
And if you can hang on until park close, there is now, we talked about it a little bit, I think last episode. There is now a projection show in the middle of USF. So there is like the large lake body of water. Towards the front of that and like the New York-ish area, there is now a projection show because they were able to finally get the money to fix the fountains and get that all together. Yay! The Halloween Horror Nights one that they did
So good.
was excellent.
Amazing.
We were very impressed with it. So now they've brought back Cinesational, a symphonic spectacular, which is that show that gets projected on. It is, I believe the official answer as to when it starts is 10 minutes before close. Maybe it's 15 minutes before close. And that will be true whether it closes at 9 or it closes at 11 or what have you. That's the general time. So you're going to want to probably go to the viewing area, which is pretty clearly marked. And again, if you're not sure, you can ask a team member and go probably maybe about 20 minutes, a half hour before, maybe a little earlier than that if it's very busy, just to make sure that you get a good viewing area.
Excellent. So, okay, that kind of puts a pin on our day if we're using Express. Now, we're going to talk about without Express with
And
just
also
standby.
on the the standby TM. Also on the way out, you're gonna want to get Voodoo Donuts. I know we said it. I'm gonna say it again. That is the best way to end off a Universal Day is Voodoo Donuts.
Absolutely.
Love this. And then you've got donuts for the next morning, which I think we also have talked about on a previous Universal episode where we said, hey, just grab a couple extra. Your next morning, you'll be grateful that you did.
Let me tell you, nothing feels better than having sore theme park feet and eating an Oreo donut at 8 a.m. Like it truly it is. It heals you. It is a life affirming experience.
I love this so much. Okay, so let's think about what we need to do now if we're attempting to tackle this park without Express.
Yes.
What do we need to know before we even talk about itinerary? What do we need to know about this park and doing standby?
Yes. So if you are doing standby, there are definitely longer lines to contend with. So you really need to pick like your top three absolute must do attractions in the park. And then if you get to do everything else, great, wonderful. That's just like extra icing on the cake, right? USF does have a lot of high capacity rides though. So we did, kind of talk about it in, talking about it with Express Pass, that some of them really are usually very short lines to get through. So it is kind of realistic to get through a lot more rides in this park than in maybe IOA or Epic. But to avoid the disappointment, kind of stick with like I have these three must do's that I absolutely need to get on, and then I'll see what else I can kind of get through during the day.
And that's
So
kind of a theme with all of the theme parks when it
right.
comes to standby. Like you'll hear us talk about that with probably every other park when we talk about not using these express passes or lightning lanes. You need to have a priority list. So kind of have to have that set up before you even. You should have that set up well in advance. Is my advice to you. So
Agreed. Absolutely. So we'll start in the same place here as we would if we had Express. You're going to head to your most anticipated attraction. However, what kind of is different here is where you might go afterwards. Right. So instead of, necessarily going counterclockwise, hitting all of those attractions that way, you might have to do a little bit more zigzagging across the park. So basically, if there is anything that you want to ride and the wait is 30 minutes or less, that really is, kind of where you should be heading because those waits will fluctuate throughout the day. Um,
And I will say this is less true here
mhm,
because of the nature of the fact that there's a lot of just like people eater rides. It is vastly more true in IOA and Epic Universe.
mhm,
If you are doing either of those parks without Express, you are going to have to do a lot of zigzagging, a lot of checking the app.
yeah,
I think the same is true for a lot of Disney stuff, right? Like you were simply going to have to go cross park a lot. So that is something to consider in your day planning. And just like when you're considering if Express is worth it or not, just how much can you, and if you're going with family members or friends, like how much can they physically do too? That's also important to consider. It is, of course, like financial is like the number one consideration, but if you're on the fence about it, I think considering your group size, how many people you're going with, and the capabilities of those people, right? Because you may be going with small children, and small children can zigzag far less easily
mm,
than maybe a group of three focused adults. So
right. Well, and I will say, because we haven't mentioned it this particular episode, that like when it comes to kind of figuring some of that out, travel agents can really be your best friend because sometimes, depending on your group, it may be more cost efficient to stay at one of those deluxe resorts and get it included than it would be for you to price it all out separately individually at a lower tier resort. So, just things to consider, especially with Universal having so many different ticket options. If you remember when we talked about the ticket options, there's 18 billion, and they just changed them again last week because now the 3-day ticket, you can do Epic more than one day, and they have all these other options with their
yep.
park to park tickets. And we're not going there. We're not doing it again.
Jackie, I can't do it again. I can't do it. I can't go back there.
So, call a travel agent, use a travel agent. There are so many really, really great ones out there. Just a reminder, make sure that you are using a travel agent that does not charge for their services. It should be free because they get paid by the theme park that they are booking for. Just a reminder out there to our lovely listening audience. But use a travel agent if you need to do some of that price comparing to see what makes more sense. Because like you said, if you've got a group of 5, maybe it is more cost effective for you to go to a deluxe resort and get that included. Because not only that, you can stay one night and get 2 days of express included because check-in day and check-out day, you become eligible. So
Yep.
lots of little things with that. Again, we're not going there.
no.
However, your travel agent can go there. So
Yes.
contact them
That is
to help
that is
you
in fact their
figure that
job
out.
to go
That
there.
is their job. So figure that out. If you need help connecting to a travel agent, send us a message. We are not travel agents. We love to give information and help people plan. We are not travel agents. So,
Nope.
but if you need help connecting to one and you're like, I'm lost, I need help, please send us a message, momstreetusa@gmail.com. Message us on our social medias. We will connect you to a travel agent. No problem.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. Rant over.
No, no.
Continue.
Good and important
Yes,
rant.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as we mentioned before, too, the times that we give on this are really going to be more general, like morning, afternoon, evening. than, like,
Approximately
exact.
between 9 and noon. Maybe.
Right.
We'll see.
Rather than exact times, because this all kind of fluctuates depending on how busy it is, how long the lines are that you're waiting on. So, really, if you are going in without Express, you have to have the Universal app be like on top of checking wait times. And, to make sure that you get to everything that you want to do, because it is sometimes very hard to predict the wait times.
Yeah. And I will also say you can set notifications in the app. Don't rely on them. They don't sometimes go out. It's good to have, right? Like maybe I'm not looking at my phone right that second and I'll get notified. Don't rely on them. And if there is something that you are interested in and it has a persistently long wait through the day, it is not a bad idea to post up near there, maybe find a park bench or something where you can sit and see the wait times, because the wait times will change faster in person than they will get updated on the app. We have seen it happen where a wait was posted at an hour and then it dropped to a half hour. We got in line. It wound up being 20 minutes, but it did not update on the app for a significant period of time because I kept checking because I was curious. So the app is good. It is a good gauge and it is going to be your best friend, especially if you're like across the park. There's no possible way for you to know what the true wait time is.
Right.
However, there is just simply more strategy to be employed around the park than solely relying on the app. It's a good gauge and it's an important tool, but it shouldn't be your end all be all. All right. So, with all of that caveat being said, your morning's going to look pretty much like it did with the Express Pass, right? That is the general advice that we give, like Jackie said, across theme parks. You're going to go to whatever your most wanted is. If it's Gringotts, go right for Gringotts. If you have kids, like we said before, prioritize that Minion Mayhem. That advice still holds true. Um, and then you're going to want to go for whatever your second is. Again, like if you're doing Gringotts into the Mummy, this will still be a viable strategy even without Express, because like we said earlier, what Express allows you to do is rewrite it again later in the day. The unfortunate truth is there is a good chance that once you knock these two out in the morning, that will be your only ride for the day unless you want to wait a very long time. Especially if you're going during peak season. We have seen the wait for the Mummy get up to like 2 hours, right? It can be extreme. So it's good to keep an eye on it, later in the night as people are filtering out. Or sometimes you get lucky if you eat at those off times, you can go when everybody else is at lunch. You may get lucky. Or if you are not interested in the parade or the show, right? All those typical theme park tips still apply. Um, but whereas with Disney, you get like a huge draw during the fireworks, so that's a great time to go, to the rides. That is not generally the type of crowd that's going to Universal. People are not going to Universal necessarily for this additional entertainment. They are going for the coasters. So they too are going to prioritize those coasters. So that is just something that you're going to have to keep in mind. So those weights will get high, and during peak times, Christmas, summer, they'll stay high. I mean, they generally won't dip even by the end of the day when you're thinking that people are going to, filter out for dinner or, there's no fireworks show or anything like that to pull people. So it's just simply two different, desires of what people are getting out of their theme park experience.
Yeah, and do keep in mind that a few of these do have like a single rider option. So like if it's just grown-ups or people that are old enough to utilize that want to do it again, that could be an option that you look into. Now, if you've got littles, maybe you can rotate through and take turns doing single riders, kind of like that type of thing. So
Do rider swap.
and they do rider swap if you need to do that as well, but that would still require, just keep in mind that rider swap still requires someone to wait in that standby queue.
So, yes.
So keep that
Somebody
part
is
in
still-
mind as well.
Yes. 100%.
Yes.
Um,
But some of them do have single riders. So if that is something that you are able to utilize, or that some people in your group are able to utilize or take turns, or,
Mhm.
you guys are smart theme park people. I have faith in you. You can figure that out and figure out how to work through that coordinating who's going to ride what when. But that could be an option for some of these rides that maybe you want to do a second time.
Mhm.
yeah. And I will say single rider is a good option for USF. It is not always a good option in IOA. There is specifically one ride, it's Hagrid's that I'm thinking of. That single rider can be brutally long, even longer than standby. So if it's like a peak day, that may not be the option. We'll talk about that much more when we get to Islands of Adventure. But that is generally true for both Gringotts and does Gringotts have single rider?
I think it does.
I think it does now. Mummy definitely
I think
does.
they almost all of them do.
Yes. So
Um,
according to the interweb,
Great.
Thanks.
Um, single rider lines are almost always available, almost always,
Yeah.
not guaranteed, especially early morning, late evening, not always a guarantee. Minion Mayhem, Fast and the Furious, Gringotts, Men in Black, Revenge of the Mummy, and Transformers.
Thank God. Thank God Fast and the Furious has a single rider. I was worried I would have to wait the full 3 minutes because nobody wants to go on that ride.
If Fast and the Furious has no haters, Duck is dead.
I am fast to get furious over this stupid ride.
Wah, wah, wah.
But
Boo. Yeah, so those are ones that may have them. And if you're not sure, like, go ask the
Yeah.
team member that's hanging out. There's always going to be a team member somewhere near the entrance queue. So just be like, hey, single rider. And they may say, like, not currently open. Yes, it is. Here's where you go. Various different things that can happen with that.
Yep.
But those are the ones that, according to the interwebs, typically have them open.
And that is true, like you said, with the caveats of sometimes not early in the morning, sometimes not late. Sometimes it's a staffing thing. So it's very possible that even during peak times when you'd expect the single rider to be open, I don't know, maybe the whole ride crew got hit with food poisoning, right? Like it happens. So like
Right.
there's extenuating circumstances, but like Jackie said, please just always talk to the team members. They are happy to guide you in the right direction.
Yes. Perfect. Okay.
So
So I think that kind of covers morning vaguely, because that's
yes.
about the best we can do.
Right. So that is approximate morning, right? You're going to knock out your number 1 and probably number 2 rides, either by doing everything in the Minions area if you have kiddos. I'm not trying to stereotype. I just know a lot of children love the Minions. I also love the Minions, but that's neither here nor there. Or you're going to be the thrill people and you're going to go for the coasters. That will bring you to about 11:30. We recommend getting lunch now, right? This is before the rush. This is worth it to just get lunch knocked out early. So again, we're sticking with those. We are going to recommend doing, of course, the quick service. So we're going to say do either Louis in New York or Richter Burger in San Francisco. Um, so there are other, you can also, if you want to wait, like this is all fluid, right? Like maybe you knock both of those out and it's only 10 o'clock or 10:30. We've done that before, right? Like we've gone really quick and they were both short waits. So then we were done. So then you can walk around or do some shopping or keep going on to the next ride or get a snack, right? So like this is what we're talking about when we say without express, like everything is so fluid because the lines are unpredictable. So just pick your top, get those done, and then hang out the rest of the day and hit what you can.
Perfect. Okay. So after lunch, what should we be kind of keeping an eye on?
Yeah. After lunch, check the wait times, right? It could be worth it to hit up the Transformers ride, or if you haven't done one of the Minions rides or, anything like that, kind of hitting those up while you're in that area, assuming you went to, one of the New York or San Fran restaurants for lunch. And then if neither of those is on your list, then you can just head to whatever your next preferred ride is or whatever has the shortest wait and is, on your list of things to hit. So once you've gotten to the next ride, definitely time check, prioritize either the parade or the Born Spectacular if you are interested in doing either one of those. And then definitely move on back towards that Simpsons area and Men in Black if you have not done so already. But again, those are usually areas where the weights are pretty low on rides anyway. So that is something you can kind of push until later in the day. So then that'll put you back around dinner time. And as we discussed in the Express Pass, kind of portion, you can try to sneak in a few additional rides, or, do some shopping at this time as well, or just head and get some dinner.
I'll also recommend, just really quick, for the parade or the stuntacular, if you're prioritizing rides, you're probably only going to get to do one of those things. So just depending on the time check, maybe see what's happening sooner so that way you can knock that out. Or if you have a preference, just make sure that you're building that time into your day, because the parade is at 2, and then the Born Stuntacular, I think it's like every like it's not every hour on the hour. It's like every 15 on the 15, right? It's like 11:15, 12:15, maybe 2:15, 3:15, and 5:15, something like that. So, of course, check the app, ask a team member. So, we do, if you are trying to prioritize rides, we do recommend just picking one over the other to make sure that you can maximize the number of times that you're going to ride Men in Black. I know we're like kind of knocking it, but
It's a very fun
it's
ride.
actually genuinely one of my favorite rides. If I can go down memory lane for a second, I think I've talked about this. I went to Universal as a kid with my family, and I have like such a distinct memory of always getting the high score and making my sister so mad. I like actually love that ride so much. I made my parents buy me a deneuralizer toy. Like, it's still in my closet. It like did the flashy thing. It made the noise. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I loved that ride so much. Of course, we watched Men in Black all the time growing up. My family is like big sci-fi people.
Yeah.
So it was always on. So it was just like, I really love the Men in Ride Black. It's a very fun, like, shooting gallery type ride. And my hint to the general public is always make sure that you are the one to press the red button. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
You heard it here first, folks.
Elbow your child to push the red button.
I do not condone this behavior. Don't listen to them.
Wrong. Only listen to me. Elbow the grandmother next to you and the child to your right. Take them out. Hit the red button.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, back to so basically
sued.
basically it's so the afternoon you're going to kind of focus on, if I'm understanding correctly, like San Francisco, New York area-ish
So
mostly.
you're going to eat in San Francisco and New York, and then you're going to move on, continuing around, prioritizing whatever's important to you, right? If you want to go to ET, go to ET after that. If you're interested in riding Men in Black, go to there. So this is where the zigzag kind of comes in, and where you need to kind of pay attention to the times on the app, right? Because ET might be 40 minutes now, and so instead you're going to go ride the Tilt-A-Whirl in the Simpsons area. And then once that's done, ET's back down to a 20-minute wait. I better go book it back over there, right? So this is where your priority list and your use of the app is going to really come in handy, right? So this is where the zigzagging, the checking, the looking comes in handy, right? So we kind of say everybody eat in the New York, San Francisco area because it's sort of like a neutral location,
It's
right?
central.
It's like as central as you can get here. Because that's where the pathway splits. So you can go right towards ET and the DreamWorks area, and then you'll hit Simpsons, or you can go left towards more of New York, which is the Mummy, and then into the Harry Potter section, and then they meet in the back at Men in Black. So it's truly just a giant circle, with these like different areas. So we say New York and San Francisco, because it's very everybody friendly food, right? It's like Italian food. So you get like Sbarro's pizza basically, or like chicken fingers, right?
Classic New York
Or like
slice.
classic New York slice.
Sorry, I think that scene in The Office.
It's a great one. Or you can get burgers, right? Like and there's like all kinds of options. There's like chicken sandwiches and stuff at Richter's too. So like those are very neutral eating locations, and they are somewhat centrally located because it's easy to go down either way that splits. So that's why we recommend eating in that area and then making your decision as to which way you're going to go,
Mhm.
and then start your zigzagging from there.
Yeah. So that being said, not only do you want to make sure you have your top like 3 priority, you kind of want to rank the rest of the rides and have that in your back pocket, because that's what your afternoon is going to look like, right? So that's what Duck was just, explaining geographically to us what makes sense. So, by the time you get to that lunch time, chances are good if not 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 3 of your top rides, you may have been able to knock out before you hit lunch. So you need to have something. You don't want to be
Right.
you don't want to be stuck going, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? So, right the list of attractions in this park is not so immense that you can't just like sit and look through them and do a quick like, okay, we got our top 3. What's our next 3? Let's rank those. What's our next 3? Let's rank those. You still want to have some backups to your backups to make sure that you have something concrete that is guiding you, especially if you are in an indecisive party, a large party, or a party that has not been to Universal before.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is actually a pretty good park. If this just general advice, if you haven't been to Universal before, USF is a good park to start with because it's far less overwhelming in the
Yeah.
action. So
It's not going to be like this with IOA
You're-
or Epic.
no,
Or
we're like
this
go
is
ride
gonna
Men
look
in
very
Black 40
different.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's gonna look very, very different.
Right. Perfect. Okay. So I think that kind of gives us a good afternoon game plan. So then dinner, right?
Mhm.
Yep. So then when it comes to dinner time, this sort of where you're going to eat sort of depends on where you've wound up, right? If you didn't eat in New York and San Francisco, you can go hit up either one of those, right? If you're on the other side of the park, there's the Simpsons Moe's Tavern. They have plenty of options in there. It's called Moe's Tavern, but it's not just tavern food, right? There's like Cletus's Chicken Shack, and it's all themed to the Simpsons in there. So we've talked about it a little bit more, I think, on our previous episodes, but there's lots of options in there for a variety of foods that folks may be interested in. So that's, if you're on the other side of the park, that's, a viable option to eat at. So what you're doing for dinner kind of just depends on your proximity to things. And again, if you can eat outside of peak times, great. So, once you have eaten and you are ready to get back out there, this again is our cleanup time, right? So, this is a good time still to do shopping because if you're like us, you prioritize rides during the day and then you're doing your shopping in the evening rather than like as you go along. So this is like maybe you didn't get to ET because the timing was really high during the day, but you did everything else that you wanted to do in the park. So maybe you get in line even though it's 45 minutes, right? So,
Right.
you have like you said earlier, Jackie, with the rankings, once you sort of have accomplished without express everything that you want to do, this is now sort of your victory lap, much like when you do have the express. This is now, you know what? I wasn't going to ride Men in Black again, but I'm going to because I'm back here. I might as well. Or I wasn't going to get in line for Gringotts again, but it's only a 30-minute wait because everybody's at dinner or, what have you. I'm going to go hop in line or something like that. Or I want to go walk around the DreamWorks area. Maybe there's nothing that I want to ride or my kiddos are interested in, but it's a cute area, so I just want to go take a stroll back there. This is still the evening time is like great theme park people watching time. It's great cleanup time if there's something that you want to go back to in a gift shop or there's another ride. So the principle holds true both between express and not express that the evening is your wrap up, right? So that's our general take and that's our usual theme park plan when it comes to evenings. The other thing that I do want to note though is that the Mummy and Gringotts, I've said it throughout this, but those weights stay pretty high even into the evenings. So even until basically they close, right?
Mhm.
It's not the worst idea to hop in line at the end of the night. It is sometimes true that they will leave the wait times looking high and they are not necessarily high, right? but you're taking the gamble because that's happened to us where we were like, huh, there's no way it's an hour. And it was completely an hour.
Yep.
So that's fully like the gamble that you're taking when you're getting in line. When it says 60 minutes posted, you might be surprised and it's only 30 minutes, but you might be horrified and it's actually 60 minutes. So,
Well, and like the other parks, and we'll talk about this there too, they cut off the express line. So they don't leave that open until the very end of the day. So if you are someone that wants to get on something like Gringotts or the Mummy, getting in that line is going to be at least more of a true, probably representation of the wait time, because you're not going to have a giant influx of people trying to use their express at the last minute. That would have already happened a little bit earlier in the evening, chances are. So keep that in mind. A little bit different at Disney because they do allow lightning lanes all the way up until park close for that. So a little bit different, but generally still that way when we get to Disney, but we'll get there eventually.
yeah. But yeah, and I will just say this has happened to us a couple times. Sometimes even when it's that hour wait, you're walking out into an empty park, and walking out into an empty park anytime is awesome. So that's my take on it. Even if it's actually an hour, so
Yeah.
what? You got to finish it out on
It's
a
your
high
last
note.
thing at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
You get to hang out in air conditioning for a little bit,
Right.
Yeah.
and then you get to walk out to a somewhat empty park, and it's really cool. So
Yeah. And you're not
think,
fighting
yeah.
all the crowds that are also like,
Leaving at the
leaving at the
that
same
one.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Much,
Yeah.
much easier.
Absolutely.
Love that. Okay. Well, so hopefully this gave you at least a good framework to work off of. Again, we will have kind of as we work our way through these, we will have some kind of graphics for you all to have to maybe screenshot so that way you can keep them on your phone and use them as a basis when you are creating your itinerary for your specific needs. We'll make sure to post those on our social media so that way they have longevity and you can find them there. They'll also be on the Discord and on our Patreon, all of the places, which you should find us there because if you've got questions or comments or suggestions for us, we would love, love, love to hear from you. Again, we are momstreetusa@gmail.com and you can find us on the social medias at momstreetusa. We do have a Patreon account that is still fairly new that we are kind of figuring out how we're going to work some things over there, but currently it holds some unedited versions of our podcast. So if you want to hear all the bloopers and you want to hear my dog interrupting us and you want to hear, all of the random things that happen that get cut out of the nice polished version.
Now, have you guys ever seen that episode of It's Always Sunny where he's like, "Where's Pepe Sylvia?" That is what I turn into through maybe 70% of these episodes. So if like weird rants are your thing, you're gonna love the unedited versions.
So yes, those exist only on our Patreon. So if you are interested in any of that, we also post sneak peeks of like what's to come over there. So if you want to know what we're going to be talking about in future episodes, it all can be found over there. Again, Mom Street USA over on Patreon as well. Before we end tonight, I will just let everybody know kind of what is coming up. Again, we are just going to stay in this series for the next now 6 episodes. So
100 years.
woohoo! So we are going to continue on the one-day park strategies. We're going to do a little hopping back and forth between Disney and Universal just because we want to really make sure that we have Duck and Jess here when we're talking about Universal because I can give you my thoughts, but they probably won't be right. So you don't want
That's
that.
why we're
It will
here.
not be helpful to anybody. And I will just be stressed about it. So we want to make sure that they are here whenever we want to talk about Universal so they can give you the most accurate information. So the next episode, we will actually be going back to Disney and hitting one of the parks over there. And then after that, we'll be back at Universal and then back at Disney. So we're going to hop kind of back and forth, mix it up a little bit for you guys. But the plan is that we will, yes, hit all 7 of the major theme parks in the Orlando area. Maybe someday we'll figure out, SeaWorld and Legoland and Busch Gardens and all those others. We'll get there. It'll happen eventually. It took us
Yep.
2.5 years to even just get to Universal. So give us some time, okay?
So we're on track to get there maybe by 2030.
We got this. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So that is the plan coming up. But before we officially wrap, Duck and Jess, do you guys have any final thoughts on USF before we park hop back over to Disney next episode?
Um, just that USF is the most doable park without Express. I still recommend it if you can swing it. And of course, you're going to have to do the math out with how
Right.
many people you have. If it's worth it for you to get to stay at like one of the premium hotels, things like that. Um, it is the most doable. I still recommend it if you're going through peak. The other parks are not are much more difficult to get through everything if that's what you want, right? Like you also then have to weigh your options of, is hitting every ride important to me, or is it more important for me to hit my top 3 and then just enjoy the atmosphere of the park, right? Just depends on how you experience theme parks yourself.
Yep.
We're big go 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 do and see everything people. I know there are plenty of people who are like, I'm going to get on 2 rides today and then just hang out and people watch. And there's like no wrong way to experience a theme park. So I think when you're going through and you're making these decisions, you just need to know what's important to you personally
Right.
as you are enjoying these parks, right? If you're not a big coaster person, then Express may not be the top of your priority list, right? Maybe that's better served to do some dinner experiences in City Walk, or maybe you can then spend the extra money on some souvenirs. Maybe memories are more important to you and you can buy like the photo packages or spend that time getting photos with characters, right? We didn't touch on any of that today because that's not our itinerary experience. But
Right.
however you want to experience the parks and whatever is important to you, there is no, like I said, there's no wrong way to experience a theme park. So when it comes to Express and when it comes to weighing your options, that's all really important. USF is the easiest to do without Express because of the nature of the rides that are in there. IOA and Epic, very, very difficult to hit everything in there without Express. So again, you just need to weigh what is important to you personally
Yeah.
as you're going through these parks.
And I know a lot of this audience has kiddos and a lot of rides. I mean, I bet we spent a lot of time in our original Universal series talking about how family friendly Universal has become and now is. But the go go go, I need to hit all the roller coasters. If you have small kiddos, might not be what you're trying to do. So again, this might be different if prioritizing the family friendly things is what you want to do. Even IOA might be a little bit more doable in a day to hit everything that you want to hit if you're not trying to get on, Hagrid's and Velocicoaster and all the things there. So it all just really depends, like Duck said, on what kind of works for you. And all the go, go, go might not be the best if you have kiddos. You might want to just not do Express, take it slow. We get to what we get to and all that rather than feeling like, oh, I paid all this money for Express. My kid's having a meltdown. I'm not going to get on this ride
Yeah.
and use my Express pass. And now I've wasted money. So, it all just depends on your group and who you're with.
Yeah, and I hope that throughout this series for not only just the Universal parks, but for Disney too, we may give you some more information that maybe allows you to pick and choose based on your budget. So if you're listening to this and you go, yeah, this seems totally doable, we don't need Express, but then you hear Iowa and you're like, oh no, I want Express for that, like it may give you the ability to kind of do that. Same thing will happen with the Disney parks. I will talk in depthly about lightning lanes and what to do and what makes sense and all of that, because that's a whole nother animal when we get to that point.
You are
Um,
the expert, lightning lane expert.
yeah,
I said it. I'm on record.
You are the best.
You are the queen of lightning lanes.
I'm pretty good at that. Yeah. But I love what you said, that there's no wrong way to do a theme park. I think that's so important and so crucial for our audience to really hear. Like, no matter what happens, there is absolutely no wrong way to do it. Your way is the way that you should do it, and what is on your list is what you should hit and what you should be doing, and what your kiddos want to do is what you should do. And if they want to meet 18 characters in one day, then do it.
Yeah.
Again, like we mentioned, we focus mostly on rides just because that is the majority of what people are going to these theme parks to do. But that doesn't mean that you have to do exactly what we said. Like we said, there's no wrong way to do a theme park. Make your list based on what you guys want to do and have a wonderful time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's the
I
most
love it.
important thing.
I
That you
love
are
it.
enjoying your trip and your time, whether you are going solo or it is a big family trip, whatever it is. The most important thing about the theme park is that you are enjoying it and you are making the memories that you want to make. That is more important than anything else. And I hope that the information that we've given you today and through the rest of this series really helps you make those decisions to make the trip your own and for you to prioritize what's important to you and any of your travel companions, be it your family or, like I said, you're doing a solo trip. As long as you enjoy it, that is what's the most important.
I love that. What a happy little note to end on. That was so
Yay!
good. We did it, you guys.
Crushed it.
Woohoo! Claps for us all around. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining us and for being here for this episode. We love you. We appreciate you. If you're listening on whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what your favorite ride is in USF, or if you haven't been, let us know what your top choice would be when you go to the park. We would love to hear from you. But for now, that will complete our visit to USF. We're headed on to another park next week, and we hope you will all join us then. And we will see you very soon on the next episode of Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.
Bye.